Right. All right, call North Plains City Council meeting to order, May 4th at 2 o'clock. Please rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lori, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Mayor Dumbrell,
Present.
Council President Hagedorn. Present. Councilor DeForge.
Present.
Councilor Ugarte. Present. Councilor Redding. Here. Councilor Warrington. Present. And Councilor Weber.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before we move on to the agenda, I just want to point out that it is, sorry, I need to clean my glasses. It is Public Service Recognition Week. So we just like to take a moment and thank our city staff. We intend on embarrassing more people later, don't worry. Your time's coming. Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion on the consent agenda and approval of previous council minutes.
Councilor Weber, so moved.
Councilor Weber moves to approve. Do I have a second?
Councilor Ugarte, second.
So Ugarte seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Couple things I'll call out real quick before we move on. It was libraries. Clerk with the proclamation here. Probably should have read it first before we approved it. So do I need to read this now, Larry?
That is your choice.
Yes, I will read this now. Okay. Bear with me because I'm my best. City of North Plains proclamation. Whereas the North Plains Public Library has served communities since its establishment in 2006, providing access to knowledge, resources, and lifelong learning opportunities. And whereas the library has become a cornerstone of the community, fostering literacy, education, and a welcoming space for residents of all ages. And whereas the North Plains Public Library offers programs, services, and resources that enrich the lives of patrons and strengthen the cultural and educational fabric of the city. And whereas library staff, volunteers, and community members have contributed their time and energy and dedication to ensure its continued success over the past 20 years. And whereas the city of North Plains recognizes the vital role that the library plays in promoting community connection, discovery, and engagement. And whereas the 20th anniversary of the North Plains Public Library is an opportunity to celebrate its history and achievement and ongoing impact on the community. And whereas the residents and visitors are encouraged to join in recognizing and celebrating this important milestone. Now, therefore, the mayor and city council of North Plains, Oregon, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2026 as the 20th birthday of the North Plains Public Library and encourage all citizens to celebrate this special occasion. And also, just for everyone's edification, there's also a letter and a proclamation from, there's a letter from Representative Bonamici. Sorry about that. Wouldn't want to insult her by calling her sensitive. And now I get to have the fun one. Proclamation of the 57th Annual Professional Clerks Week. Whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants. And whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between citizens and local governing bodies and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas professional municipal clerks serve as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the Office of Professional Municipal Clerks through the participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now therefore, I, Aaron Dumbrau, Mayor of the City of North Plains, do recognize this week of May 3rd through May 9th as a professional clerks week, and further extend our appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Lori Lesmister, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital service they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. So thank you, Lord. And thank you for that. And Robin, our librarian, sorry, should have called you out. You can't sit in the back and expect me to. Okay, so next we have public comment. So as a reminder, please come to the podium, state your name, and if you're a city resident, rural resident, or non-resident, and you'll have 3 minutes. So first I have Russ Sheldon. Come on.
Mayor Dumbrau and member councilors. Tonight, I'm here to express my support for City Manager Bill Reed. In my view, Bill served in the most turbulent and unprecedented periods in North Plains' recent history. Over the past 16 months, the city has experienced significant turnover and disruption. During Bill's first year alone, he has worked with 8 different counselors by my count due to the election turnover and subsequent resignations. That level of change would challenge any organization. Bill has had to onboard and support multiple new counselors with many without any prior governance experience while maintaining continuity in city operations. He has navigated these transitions while adapting to shifting expectations, typically guide effective local governance. Despite these challenges, Bill has demonstrated resilience and commitment. He has managed these adaptations without the benefit of a senior advisor through the Oregon City County Managers Association, whose advisory program has been paused. From my perspective, the city is functioning well. There are no significant operational or financial concerns. Bill ensured the adoption of a budget, identified cost savings from the prior biennium, and has continued delivering services at or below budget. He has also navigated staffing transitions and key financial and delays in audits. And these are issues that have affected many small agencies in the wake of COVID. It's also worth noting that Bill's one-year evaluation should have probably taken place in late 2025. At that time, council included members whose experience could have contributed valuable feedback. Delays in that process have limited that opportunity. As you consider his performance, I encourage you to weigh the importance of stability and continuity in city, especially during periods of significant change. Bill has provided both under challenging circumstances, and that contribution deserves careful consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Susan Brown.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Susan Brown, and I'm an a rural resident, I guess is what we're called, just outside the city limits. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I live outside the North Plains city limits, and I'm fully comfortable with the fact that I don't have a vote in city elections. I'm here because I care about this community and appreciate the chance to share my perspective. Recently, at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, I heard Bill give an update on city matters. When asked about grant funding from new businesses, he offered a clear, thorough explanation of where those funds come from and how they are allocated. Only afterward did I learn that he previously taught government at Portland State University, something that made perfect sense. His ability to communicate complex issues with ease is a tremendous asset, and we are fortunate to have someone with his expertise serving this city. I've worked with Bill on several projects, been prepared, professional, and generous with his time. He treated each topic and me with respect. Any resident would be proud to have him representing the city's interests. Small towns rarely have the benefit of someone with his qualifications, and North Plains is lucky to have him. That's why I'm concerned about the shift in tone from this body beginning early 2025. Since then, I have watched staff, Bill included, being publicly criticized, dismissed, or spoken to in ways that undermine trust and morale. Disagreement is inevitable, but how disagreement is handled matters. Residents expect their elected officials to model professionalism, respect, and good governance. They also expect decisions to be guided by the interests of city residents, not by outside pressure or personal factions. I'd ask you to reflect on the example you are setting and the impact it has on public confidence. Please recognize the value of experience, loyalty, and hard work your staff brings to the city. And I appreciate the recognition of Lori today. She does, in my view, an outstanding job, and I appreciate the interactions that I've had with her as well. Thank you, Lori. North Plains is fortunate to have talent like Bill Reed working on its behalf. I hope that continues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Laura Dexon.
Lori has a handout for you. On April 6th, the city presented a plan to put in a safe and cost-effective loading zone on Commercial Street, which you seem to have voted for. Since then, locates have been on our site painted parallel along the planting strip next to our sidewalk on Commercial Street. What are these for? We don't see these fit for the plan that you voted on. If there's a new plan or changes to that plan that you approved, it requires another public hearing. This time, we request that you follow the suggestions of the mayor and have a certified experts there to explain exactly how this safe loading zone is to be achieved. That would be a traffic engineer. Our own experts have cautioned us that a safe loading zone can only be achieved by significant reconstruction of the street at the cost the city would likely not be able to afford. Example, if you regrade down the sidewalk to the sidewalk level, that requires the removal of the power pole, putting it somewhere else. Estimated cost, if PGE is allowed, is about $20,000. If you regrade down the sidewalk level, you will need to remove the storm drains at 314. And reposition those to make sure that the building does not flood. Estimated cost $50,000. If you're going to add a retaining wall instead of regrading, you will not only have the cost of the wall, but you also have the cost of the redesign of the road to accommodate a 12-foot wide loading zone, then a bike lane, 2 traffic lanes, then another bike lane on the north side and another parking strip. What will the distance of the restriping, just between 313th and 314th, or the entire road of Glencoe to Gordon? What is the business on the north side of the street requires a loading zone, and you have to restripe again to accommodate a required 12-foot width? Are you going to have commercial street where the traffic has to wave in and out of the different loading zones? And if you do all of that, do you realize that you've reduced the traffic lanes to 11 feet? Not only not safe, but not allowed. Our truck is 12 feet wide. Imagine 10 feet wide. Imagine 2 10-foot wide trucks.
Thank you, Laura Best. Next up is Lisa Pryor.
Hello, my name is Lisa Fry and I am a resident of the city. Given the agenda tonight, I just wanted to come and voice my appreciation and my thanks to city staff for, mostly from my perspective, on the EDC. In particular, our city manager, Bill Reed. He has been there almost the entire journey of the EDC, from the days when we were a committee to now a commission. First as the finance manager and then as the city manager, all through the forming of the committee and through the pandemic, and today, as I said, as a commission. I really have to say how much he has influenced the shaping of that committee and our work in terms of even keeping us going, especially during those rough, tough days of the pandemic when there wasn't a lot we could do. Keeping us educated, suggesting excellent speakers, bringing in topics, examples from other cities. He has a wealth of experience, and as Susan said, educating us on complex matters. For example, URA, as you all know, it's very complicated, the standards and the requirements, and getting us up to speed on such a complicated matter as that, it has been incredibly valued to us as a commission. So I want to recognize Bill for that. And including, I get the opportunity to be on the budget committee, and especially this past year, 2025, Bill did an excellent job of presenting a very complex budget, walking through each of the line items, answering a lot of questions, as you all know, because you were there, and helping us to understand and come to an agreement, collaboration on that budget for the biennium. So I just want to express that from the perspective of someone who has served on committees and commission where Bill has played a huge role. And I, of course, have to recognize Lori, and she has been there the whole way as well. And she is an amazing, patient presence in all of our meetings and keeping us organized and getting our agendas and keeping on top of things. So my appreciation goes out to the city staff, and I just wanted to share that with the councilors and the mayor tonight.
Thank you. Next up is Ty.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Kai Miller. I'm a city resident and also a member of the Planning Commission. And I wanted to take a few moments tonight to express my thanks and support for Bill Reed as city manager. I've had the pleasure of working with Bill over a number of years and have found 3 characteristics that I think are important in a role of city manager. One is capability, the second one is integrity, and the last one is no personal agenda. And from a capability perspective, you've already heard many people tonight talk about his many capabilities and how he has conducted a balanced budget. It kept North Plains on a great trajectory from a financial perspective, and there are many cities that can't say that. And that's a tribute to his work. From an integrity perspective, you don't have to look very far for organizations, municipalities, governments clean water services, whatever, to see scandals and financial misappropriation, and there's none of that in North Plains. And that's a testament to how Bill runs things and the cross checks and all the things he does to ensure those things can't occur. And then last, no personal agenda. I think like all of us, I'm sure Bill has perspective on things and certain things that he would like to see done. But I never see him bring that to the table. He works for the good of the city, and he is diligent about bringing forward everyone's requests. And I've asked him many times for information and different analysis, and he does it with complete trustworthiness and nothing that brings a personal agenda to him. So if you want someone that brings a personal agenda, doesn't have integrity and maybe not great capability, don't hire Bill. But if you want those three characteristics, you don't need to look any further than Bill Reed. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Mr. Kendall.
Did I write Mr. on here?
Oh, you're always Mr. to me, sir.
Hi, I'm Butch Kendall. I'm a resident of North Plains for 52 years. So thank you for letting me speak. I concur with everything that has been said tonight with Mr. Reed. So I have a very short thing here to read. I support that the city council tonight consider Bill's upcoming employment contract. Bill's relationship with the city staff and the public is invaluable, but maintaining integrity and commitment for the city and for its residents. Bill is a calm, caring, wonderful person. I also said in the last 17 months, negative stuff that's been said about Bill, and he's had to deal with all this stuff. It takes a special kind of person to weather such humiliation. Thank you, Bill, for your courage. Okay. Also, I think Bill should stay on so he can complete that UGB expansion project by November 2026 and the GOA project on Glencoe Road. And list all the other things that he has to do. The former city council saw great potential in Bill's performance. So please let Bill continue by renewing his contract. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and the last public comment I have is Linda Gauss Merton online. You can come off mute and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. It's your BFF. My name is Linda Callis Merton, and I'm speaking on behalf of Strong Towns North Plains. We have members throughout 97133. We're here tonight to address housekeeping matters, issues that require further attention and resolution. First, audits. During council's review of the city's financials with Umpqua Valley Financial, the acting finance director instructed that any questions for auditors be submitted in advance of meetings. We urge council to ask as many questions directly to UVF as you see fit. We also urge the council to direct the acting finance director to ensure that a representative from UVF be present at council meetings until the city is caught up with its audits. Based on our understanding, Savannah from UVF has expressed that they would be happy to participate at no additional cost. The acting finance director should welcome UVF's willingness to answer all questions, as their involvement is crucial to restoring trust in our financial reporting and management. Further, this issue extends to the loss of revenue caused by the inability to apply for certain grants due to this deficiency. Second, we come to the financials themselves. We strongly support Councillor Warrington's suggestion to color code the monthly financial statements. Marina could easily implement this feature into their system, and once completed, no further work would be required. Most members of the public are not trained in municipal accounting and do not have the time to learn its complexities. A color-coded system would enable taxpayers to quickly understand where targets are being met, where risks exist, and where failures are occurring. We suggest adding one more color to signal any accounts or payments that Marina believes need additional scrutiny. For example, this could flag a payment from the URA to cover city staff time. The city frequently informs taxpayers that there are insufficient funds for routine maintenance, a parks director, trees, revitalization, accounting software, and other needs. The city cannot expect taxpayers to approve tax increases unless there is transparency in the monthly financial disclosures. The public expects its council members to be able to ask any questions they wish at any time without limitations imposed by staff. Thank you very much.
Okay, that concludes public comment for this evening. Next, we'd like to invite up the TDF and all for the state of the district.
Mayor Denbrough, members of City Council and City staff, thank you for having me. My name is Alex David. I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations with Fall Valley Fire and Rescue, and I'm excited to give you our state of the district for this year. But first, I'd like to recognize some staff that came with me. Got PAO Craig Haney, Battalion Chief Casey Henry, and Engine 17 with Captain Al Pimentel. Now, would you mind introducing your crew?
Hello, Captain Al, this is Kurt, Harvey, Steve, our driver. Happy to be here.
Thank you all for being here today. I'd like to take every opportunity I can to recognize staff. They do such a good job servicing their communities, and we could not be prouder of the work that they do. So, looks like we've got the presentation. The glasses out.
Yeah, welcome to the court.
We'll go to the next slide. So for tonight's topics, as you can read up there, we'll talk about the incident snapshot for the city of North Plains. We'll talk about wildfire season, where we're at with EMS, and then our current bond and capital projects specifically in Washington County, North Washington County, and then a program that we have, Struggle. Next slide. So maybe a little bit challenging to read, so I'll try to walk through it, kind of going around the horn. But as you can see, 318 incidents were in the city of North Plains in 2025. And as we walk through this a little closer, there we go. So as we walk through that, starting at the top, we categorize our call types: EMS, fire, we've got hazard, public service, good intent call, false alarms, and then natural condition, and then other. And you see, you got dispatched as, so those are the call types that we receive from dispatch based on the caller information. As they work through their triage process, they are able to dispatch us to a call. And as you walk down to the situation found, that's what our crews answered when they showed up. So, you know, on the left-hand side, EMS of all calls, it's about between 70 and 80% of the calls that we go on. You know, when we get there, we might be dispatched on a sick person and then show up and it's a chest pain. So that allows us to accurately account for the data, just so that we know the types of calls that we go on. In North Plains specifically, as you walk down into the incident subcategories, you see that we had of the 7 fires that we found, 3 of those were structure fires, 2 residential and 1 commercial. We had a vehicle fire, a few vegetation fires within the city. And then as you walk through the subcategories, we had 74 critical patients. So we oftentimes look at our call types. We'll talk about that a little bit more in detail when we talk about EMS. Our critical, those are critical medical calls. And then MVC with injury and MVC and unknown. Of note, I think when you look at good intent call, oftentimes that people have questions about that. So we'll go on a reported structure fire, and when we show up and it was barbecue in the backyard, that gets coded in our system as a good intent call. So somebody that had good intention reporting what they thought was a house on fire turned out to be just a barbecue. So we're a data informed organization. You know, we look at the data throughout the year, try to understand what the hazards are in particular areas of the fire district, make sure that we've got the right resources in the right area. And to the bottom part of your slides where it talks about hours a day and days of the week, it's pretty consistent across the fire district. So 7 o'clock, the calls start to increase throughout the day. Around 11 or 12 in the evening, calls start to decrease for the early morning hours. And North Plains is pretty consistent with the rest of our fire district. The day of the week is consistent across the board. We don't find that one particular day of the week is higher than the other. And then as you work over to the right, it looks at the 5-year trending for North Plains. In the last 2 to 3 years, there's been a slight increase in calls for service in North Plains area. That's also consistent with other areas of the fire district. And then in the bottom right, it's of those 318 calls in the city of North Plains, the units that we have in our system that have responded to those. So Station 17, for instance, responded to 92% of those incidents. Some of the other units there, Station 64, 68, 34, and 51, a lot of times you send crews to training, or if they have back-to-back calls where they're busy, we're able to bring other units in. And then of note, North Plains is a mandatory move-up station for us. So when we have an incident or they're dedicated to something that is going to take them out of service for any length of time, we're moving resources into North Plains. So I want to make sure that there's coverage. Then the upper right-hand corner is the concentration map. Just shows where the calls are at more frequently. You look at the red, those are areas of higher demand. Those are oftentimes centered around care facilities, nursing homes where we tend to have a higher frequency of calls. Next slide. So if you've heard the term all hazard, TBF&R is an all hazard organization. Traditionally in the fire service, it was fire and rescue. So we would go on a structure fire, we would put it out, we were obligated to investigate it. We had resources that could go and rescue somebody that was in a dangerous situation. And that's been the long-standing tradition in the fire service. About 30, 40 years ago, EMS became a predominant thing for the fire service, just because of where our stations are at and where our people are at. We could get them to people that had critical need in emergency medicine very quickly. So that became a predominant part of what we do over the last 30 years. And then in the last decade, this conversation about wildland and urban interface is surfaced. And of note with that, wildland urban interface got a completely different subset of skills and preparation than you would historically think about fire in the urban setting. So with the fire threat that we're seeing, we're continually preparing for that. We'll talk about that here in a few slides. Well, actually the next one, which is preparing for the wildland season. So last year, you may recall, I had the privilege of coming out here last year. We talked about the 2024 wildfire season being a record and historic year for the state of Oregon and acreage is burned. Last year, 2025, fortunately, was more of a moderate year, but the impacts of the fires, even though we had less fires, the impact of the fires in communities and the structures that were burned were still pretty significant. So we're seeing an increase in fire behavior. They're closer to populated areas. And just know that we continue to prepare every year. We're having conversations about what this low snowpack is going to look like, potentially a hotter, drier summer. We work really hard not to make predictions, but to be prepared for what's to come. And that's what we're working through right now. Because there's a lot of things that are factored into, fire starting and then growing beyond our capabilities. But all of our firefighters are trained in wildland. We continue to focus on it. We just went through what we call a training block in the months of March and April to prepare our firefighters for the upcoming season. Ensure that they've, got the tactics, the tools, that they're familiar with it. And then we work through that collectively with all of our resources so that, we're working together, of course, putting fires out. And our, priority is to respond effectively to fires, keep them small, and keep them away from your homes. Mother Nature obviously will dictate how that's going to go for us, but we definitely want to give it a fighting chance when we show up. Next slide. There's been a lot of conversation about this evolving EMS landscape. The way our communities use the 911 system has changed significantly over the past 3 decades. But when somebody calls 911 for a life-threatening medical need within our service area, you can rest assured, that they have one of the strongest advanced life support responses in TBFNR in the country. And it's noted by our incredible cardiac survivor, rates, which are in the high 40s, if not close to 50. The national average is around the mid 30s, 30 percentile. So it's pretty significant. And again, it goes back to the good work of our crews and just our preparedness to be ready and respond to those types of incidents. But a great number of calls still require our skilled medics and advanced life support capabilities. But however, the growing number of our medical calls are now requiring more of a basic life support. So we call lower acuity calls. Often these patients have non-emergent medical and social service needs. And we're seeing more people utilize 911 for their access point into the healthcare system and calling the fire department and or the ambulance service to provide that for them. And so the shifts in utilization impact our response reliability to get to critical emergencies, and we recognize that, and we continue to look for innovative ways to both engage within our communities. Of highest priority is ensuring that our citizens get the care that they need, but also to ensure that we're available to respond to those higher acuity, more severe calls. So a lot of work needs to be done still in that space, but we're working toward it. Next slide. And then, so a few of the programs I'll talk about quickly. We have an advanced practice community paramedicine program. So we've got paramedics, good paramedics, but it takes those paramedics, gives them additional training and equipment to assist crews on critical call types. So they're available to respond to augment what's already being done on an incident. And we're seeing very high success with that program. But those advanced practice community paramedics are also trained to engage with our high utilizer group and the lower acuity of calls within the 911 system to ensure that these patients can successfully navigate the healthcare system and can get them connected with resources that they need within the communities. So it's taking a little bit of the burden off of our fire engines and fire trucks and ensuring that they get the attention and care that they need. And then we have our EMS and community risk reduction staff have also launched a care facility outreach program to work with 70 licensed care facilities in our service area, account for about 14% of our incidents. And that is just educating them on how to utilize 911, what their capabilities are. So it reduces the frequency in which we're either sending an ambulance or a fire engine to that incident. We also have nurse navigation, which is in our dispatch center, and think of that as telemedicine. So it's we introduced that last year, and as the dispatchers working through a call, they now have an additional resource besides an ambulance or a fire engine that they can send patients to or potential patients to, so that they can get access to a nurse, and then they work them through what resources they need, what their issues are, and try to get them steered there. They can also call Ubers to get them to a care facility if they need to. And then there's some redundancy built in that if the call is actually a little bit more critical, or they continue to worsen, they'll be kicked back into the 911 system. But as the healthcare system continues to experience stressors, we know that traditional response models are not sustainable from a fiscal and a resource management standpoint. We continue to evolve our approach, and we have sought collaborative partnerships with cities, counties, state, and even at the federal level to ensure that our communities get what they need. Next slide. Bond capital projects. So we touched on this last year. Several of our station rebuilds and remodel projects were kicked off from the November 2021 voter approved general obligation bond. At the direction of our board, I'll take just a quick minute to talk about the priorities that came from our board, which is to this bond, which is to prioritize seismic security and equity needs. Our stations must be able to fit any size apparatus. Stations must be able to accommodate future growth. So thinking about dual companies, a lot of our stations have one engine in them, but as we're talking 30 to 50 years that, as our communities continue to grow, we want the ability to be able to house the needs without making huge adjustments to the stations. A decontamination space with an emphasis on hot, warm, and cold zones. That's in an effort to reduce the exposure of our first responders to the stuff that they carry with them in their gear. And then all of our stations should be able to include a battalion chief bunk. So it just allows for us to move our battalion chief around based off of need within the fire district. currently happening in Station 62 in Aloha. It's being relocated from its current site to 185th Pheasant. Site preparation and grading is underway, and hopefully we'll begin construction on that building within the next few months. Station 67, which is downtown Beaverton, that's our busiest station. The design build team has been selected and design is underway for a significant remodel. And at this point, we're pleased to say that we're able to keep both the engine in the truck and the battalion chief in the temporary quarters at that location. In Station 17 and 19, they're concurrent projects. We selected PNC Construction, and they will be working through a progressive design build. And they will be working with Scott Edwards, architect, on what the design looks like, and we're hoping that that will kick off in the spring for both of those stations. Several of our board priorities for the stations placed an emphasis on what's referred to as trauma-informed design, which will be into the next slide here in a second. And while the average community member in their lifespan will see 3 to 5 traumatic events, our first responders see approximately 500. The design build of our new fire stations is to provide space for them so that they can either get the time that they need to recover, relax in between calls if that's what they need. But the data suggests and the research suggests that just a little bit of time in between calls to allow them to reset themselves helps them get them towards the end of their career successfully, and hopefully minimize the exposure from what they see throughout the 30-year career. Next slide, please. And then that's struggle. So this is an initiative that TBF&R has been working towards since 2022. We partnered with Boulder Crest Foundation that provide Struggle Well, which is multi-day workshops and training for all of our people. The framework of Struggle Well program was initially developed for military personnel and veterans and proved impactful for those dealing with post-traumatic stress. It then expanded across the country to law enforcement and the fire service. Struggle Well is a paradigm shift moving beyond the PTSD to what we call post-traumatic growth. It's a proven model to dramatically improve the health and wellness of first responders. And at the core of the program is the understanding that while life will have the struggle, deep struggle can cultivate profound strength and help us achieve the life we want to live. While anyone experiences struggle, while everyone experiences struggle, we can all learn to struggle well. So today, about 40% of our staff have attended struggle well training. Our goal is 60 because we know historically we get to 60%. That helps impart that into the culture. We have internal trainers that are providing that training. And it's been a huge success. I've gone through it. I went through a 4-day opportunity to sit through it, and it does allow you to look at your internal struggle a little bit differently, process that. We continue to engage at the state legislature through the short session in the spring. TBF&R sought state investment to provide one-time financial support to continue the district's internal program and expansion into Washington County's first response agencies. And while budget constraints at the state level did not result in the desired outcome in this session, we continue moving forward with our commitment to ensure that all agency personnel complete at the minimum the 2-day struggle well training. And last slide. There's a lot more that our great staff do. Throughout the year, there's a QR code that gives 2025 year in review if you want to watch that. It expands a little bit more on what we've done to this last year. And that completes the state of the district. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council questions?
Councilor Weber, thank you. I mean, it's wonderful to have you all here. It's impressive.
Thank you, Councilor Ugarte. I just wanted to clarify, I know you had mentioned Station 17 was going through some of that design process. Are you looking to start the renovation in spring of 2026 or spring of 2027?
Spring 2027.
Okay, perfect. And just thank you again for your presentation. I highly encourage all of my peers. I know Mayor Dunbrow recently attended the TBF&R Community Academy. Corinne, I have very fond memories of it, and I really encourage everyone on this dais to attend and really walk a mile in a firefighter's shoes, because those boots are much heavier than you anticipate.
I'll concur. Yeah, thank you for coming, and, just a special thank you to, Station 17. I think we tend to take a lot of things for granted in our daily life, and Councilor Ugarte said, seeing things from somebody else's perspective really helps you. And if you go for the counselors, if you do go through the program, and I strongly encourage you to, just show up and ask a lot of dumb questions, because they like to answer questions, at least they pretend like they did. And I learned a ton, and I was very grateful. But also, one other piece that I took away from the training was, I was speaking with one of our local firefighters who's actually a state representative. And we are looking, well, she and the legislature are looking into more rural fire, like more, how do we deal with rural fire more effectively? And I think that's gonna be important. I know we're kind of on the verge of rural and urban, but we're gonna be impacted by this a lot. So it's just something to think about as you hear these things come up, and you have to think about what the state's funding. It's something we need to think about a lot. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'm just saying, something we need to talk about more.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know we have a lot of, throughout the year, we have a lot of conversation and analysis of our data, just to ensure that we've got the right resource in the right spot. Where most of the calls happen, that's where the crews tend to go, but our ability to be able to respond effectively, even utilizing our mutual aid partners within the county and within some of our adjoining counties, definitely helps with that, so.
Yeah, and if you ever get a chance, look at the map of what our station covers, it's not small. So, anything else? Thank you, appreciate it, and, I'm sorry, please.
Okay, I was just gonna say, Council Morgan, I wanted to just thank you guys for what you've done, what you're doing. I have two family members who have been in Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue for years. They're now retired. I understand what you guys do, in my own way. So I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, it was a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
And with that, we move on to unfinished business. So, next up is, I don't believe we've had any GV5 meetings.
Oh yeah, you have a quick update.
Good.
I got a note from Roman.
Oh, sorry, can you just, sorry.
Thank you, Councilor DeGorge. I got a note from Rowan. She said that next week we are going to meet on the TGM PAC to discuss 3 draft alternatives for future land use. And I was hoping we could get a quick update from Bill to share with the council about what is coming down the road.
Sure, Councilor Forge. So I don't have a ton to add to that. The ODOT and the consulting team basically just have prepared with the assistance of the technical advisory committee, kind of the utilities and the transportation planning, the county, the state, have prepared basically 3 different maps regarding what might go where in an UGB expansion, where roads might go, where uses can go for the community to consider. And so basically that's just what's being presented on Tuesday night, the 12th, yes. And it's for feedback and questions, and then to kind of get feedback from the community, from the committee, and then move forward with going out to the community and talking about the information on those maps and what it's conveying and the advantages of doing things one way in one map versus doing things a different way in a different map. So that's going to kick off kind of a more intensive public outreach process after the meeting on next Tuesday.
Thank you, Bill. Do you have a sense about the acreage associated with these maps?
I believe that the acreage doesn't vary a ton between alternatives. It's really kind of a matter of, given city adopted findings, what we heard from the relook committee, what we heard from the outreach meetings, the neighborhood meetings last. late last fall, early winter. It's really kind of more where things can go so they don't conflict with each other, how transportation facilities where they can be to do what they need to do, keep trips going certain ways versus going other ways. And what could be done to, kind of prevent negative impacts from happening with different uses. Like if you have a lot of employment uses and it's unavoidable that you need to have the mere residential uses, do you plan a boulevard? So that you kind of have some distance and view screening, or do you rely on berms and landscaping, or how do you kind of make things interface, and where do public facilities kind of help make that possible? So that's kind of more of the conversation Tuesday.
So just to be clear, the purpose of this is for you to update the council. I think those answers will come, Counselor, out of the meeting. So if you have an update, that's great. If not, let's move on to the audio update, please.
Let's move on.
Thank you. Bill, on an update?
Yes, so FY 22 is continues to move forward. At this point, the audit on FY 22 is really between Marina and UVF. I think what we learned this past week is there was a misunderstanding by UVF regarding what Marina gave them. And I think there was a weird delay in receiving what they thought they were supposed to get when they had gotten it already, and so on and so forth. So there was some delay regarding that. So staff in the meantime, city staff in the meantime, we've wrapped up FY 23 journal entries so that whenever UVF is done with FY 22, financial statements can be ready. FY 23 financial statements can be ready for audit. So staff, we've kind of moved forward in the FY 23 while the consultants are dealing with FY 22 at this point.
Questions? Okay. Bill? Sorry, your question.
Just one question, Councilor Warren, when will the auditors actually attend the meeting and give an update themselves? Is that in the meeting?
That is the very last part. When the audit report is completely done, they will attend, and you will probably see somebody different from Savannah, who appeared before council. She's part of the audit team, but she's not a CPA. The project manager for it should be the one to attend and just kind of walk through whatever is important for them to report about, if there are findings or recommendations that they have, that sort of thing. So you'll have somebody attend, probably remotely, but it'll be somebody from the auditor that presents.
And so FY 22 then is going to be completed in a month, in a week, in 6 months. You have the best guess.
So.
Yeah.
No, I know, because it's kind of, FY 22 is out of staff hands at this point. So I think at the last meeting, I think I said, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be before the next city council meeting. And I feel bad. I feel like I shouldn't have, I felt like I should have answered slightly differently. I don't see why it won't be done in a 2-week time frame. It's just kind of UVF has their schedule and their team working on certain things, not just ours. And I think there was just a misunderstanding about what they had gotten and what they hadn't gotten. And, when Marina checks up with them and there's communication via email, but, there's no reasonable, unless something odd happens, like weird communication. I don't see why it'll take more than 2 more weeks.
So I'm assuming then that they'll be on next council meeting's agenda, in your opinion?
So the answer to the Councilor Warrington, so no, it's okay. It's a great question. So it's up to you all. If you would like to have them appear, whether or not it's done by then, you can. If it's done by then, absolutely, they will be here. So there's a little bit of, I'm punting a little bit, I guess is what I'm saying.
If I could suggest, I think having them here prematurely might not add value for trying to get through business. So maybe the hope is that it's done soon, and the moment that it's done, I think council's desire, I should speak with Mike, council's desire is to have them here. That satisfactory, Councilor Warren?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to push real hard. I was just asking questions, trying to clarify in my own mind what the time frame was going to be. So I think I understand. When they appear pretty much, and hopefully it'll be next week, next council session, but it might not be, is what bottom line is.
Council Warrington, we, in our communication, work with them as soon as possible as always.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Truly.
Good. Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay, the next agenda item is staff information gathering policy.
Thank you, Mayor. So as a reminder, this comes from Councilor Hagedorn's experience at a meeting with WACA, the 911 dispatch service countywide. And there was an elected official at a city somewhere that requested sensitive data, 911 call data, and not on behalf of city council, for reasons that were apparently political. And so WACA had asked member agencies to firm up who it is that reinforces, firms up who contacts WACA for any sensitive information. Last time we discussed this at the last council meeting, the discussion was, let's look into a policy. Emily's here. What I will say is, after communicating with Emily about this, Emily's reaction was the whole policy isn't necessary, but perhaps an amendment to your rules to kind of clarify that. And so was there anything you wanted to add to that, or?
I mean, I can tell you why I propose just a brief addition to your council rules, and then also tell you what I suggest. So the reason that I don't think an entire policy is necessary is what I just discussed in the URA board meeting, which is that when you're acting in your official capacity as a counselor, you don't have authority anyway to solicit or gather information from another government entity unless that authority is granted. So I suggest, like I said, a short rule in your council rules that says something like, in the council member conduct section, section G, something like, a member of the city council may not solicit or gather information from external governmental agencies or organizations in an official capacity on behalf of the city unless 1, council as a body grants them that authority in a public meeting, or 2, receiving information is part of their ex officio duties with the external entity. So I think that based on my understanding of the issue, would solve it.
Thoughts?
I play devil's advocate here. It's my understanding that we should, as counselors, be engaged in asking questions. And I think that there's a line that we shouldn't cross, like, for example, ask someone to do something on our behalf, right? Like enter into a contract. But I think I would like to set the tone that it's okay to ask questions. I just want to make sure that, is that aligned with everyone else, and how would that conflict with that policy?
So I guess, my perspective is that, you like, I guess, you want to be informed, right? But I guess you can't do anything that I or any other member of the public wouldn't be able to do. Right? So like exploit your government contacts, and I mean, I guess my preference, where I was gonna start with, is that you get information from staff. You run into issues of ex parte and other problems if you gather information externally. I know it's a hard line to draw, but that's what I would answer.
Councilor York?
I think devil's advocate, if you're looking for data to put on a postcard for a campaign, that's a no-no. If you're looking for data to support a community issue to drive decision-making, that would be accepted. And then I think the general consensus is going through the protocol that Emily just described.
Anybody else? So I think, in most matters, side with the city attorney, keep us out of court. So I am personally in favor, but what does everybody want to do?
Can you read again exactly what you were saying
Yes.
you would draft?
A member of the city council may not solicit or gather information from external governmental agencies or organizations in an official capacity on behalf of the city unless, one, the council as a body grants them that authority in a public meeting, or two, receiving information is part of their ex officio duties with the external entity.
So, Counselor Warrington here, so would that mean if I wanted to go to the courthouse in Washington County and ask for how many houses sold in North Plains in whatever year, that would be gathering information for me as counselor, is that correct? Is that something I would then not be able to do?
So are you doing it for, like, for your role as counselor? Or in
Let's say
your
yes.
personal
I mean,
capacity?
it's a totally random thing to say, but let's say yes, I was gonna collect some data from Washington County Courthouse.
I think that this would prohibit that. I think if you wanted to do that in your personal capacity, this would not prohibit that. But if it was for the purposes of bringing something to council, then yes.
But to be clear, your personal and public stuff needs to be firewalled off, or you risk the city can't represent you if you go outside the bounds, correct?
Correct.
In other words, what you know outside of this room should not enter into this room. Unless it was brought to you from staff.
I mean, it's hard to
Well,
say that, but yeah, it's like
That's
you can't be
effectively how
getting
the-
your information from staff.
Yeah.
Yes.
so. So your garden,
Councilor Ugarte, I want to say thank you, Emily, for putting this together. I am in support of adding this to council rules. I think it's good to have a clear defined boundary. And I think I've seen some confused faces. And I think the part I just want to clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong, is there's a difference between going as a citizen and seeking information of, let's just say, how many homes sold in Washington County or North Plains versus going up to the counter and saying, hey, I'm a North Plains city councilor. Can you tell me how many homes sold in North Plains? Is that a good way to kind of rephrase it?
Yes.
Okay. So with that, I would just share, I'm in full support of that, of moving forward, as Emily had described for updating council rules.
Counselor Warrington, one more time, sorry. So if I went and got the information as a person, would I be able to use that data as a counselor?
So, I think that it's sort of a hard line to draw. I would discourage you from, I guess, in your individual role as a counselor, going out and seeking additional information.
Right.
Most of what you get should be from your packet, from your staff here. Most of the information that you should get. It's hard to draw a strong line because you're in the community and learning things every day, but I would say your purpose should not be to gather information for something that you're doing on the council. Because you don't have authority to do that. Your authority is as a member of this body. Yeah.
Councilor Weber, I think where it gets confusing is, there's just a topic like, Councilor Hagedorn was talking about tonight. Oh, I'm interested in charging stations. And I have somebody else that has a business somewhere else. I'm curious how other people do it. So I call and ask, because I want to understand, well, that'd be a neat thing. Maybe someday we could bring that to North Plains. So you're just kind of asking questions, conversing. I guess what I don't understand is that a bad thing. You're just kind of gathering information on a potential issue. You're very clear. I'm not representing the city. But is it a bad thing then if they know you're on a committee or if you're on the council? Is it better you don't disclose that? I mean, to me, the gathering of information is not a terrible thing, and it seems like the whole freedom of speech, I totally get that you don't specifically request like 911 information, but how far do we try to take this?
Yeah, I think maybe it would be better if I sort of synthesize some advice to you all in a follow-up email, maybe, because I don't think it's, I don't think I'm explaining it well, and I want to make sure that I address all of your concerns. So I think maybe I'll follow up with that. This would only be from external government agencies, so government entities is all that this rule applies to.
So at that point, excuse me, Councilor Reddy, at that point, we would ask staff, as a whole, we would say, yes, that's a good idea. Staff, can you go to Washington County and tell us how many homes were sold? Then that information's fairly shared amongst the council.
Yeah,
Yes,
That's what we're trying to,
that's the preferred
yes,
point.
If I might, just to inject, part of the important point that's being, I think, isn't in the discussion, is that you're all getting the information together and you're all weighing it equally. Rather than one person having an advantage of any kind, or it's that you're all deliberating the same information. I think that's the goal.
Councilor Garton.
I don't want to take up too much time. I think I was just gonna clarify, because I heard some clarifying questions from Councilor Weber, and I think the analogy of Councilor Hagedorn having a contact with someone that has EV expertise, think 20 steps ahead to the future of what if, and I'm just gonna speak in hypotheticals here, but what if Councilor Hagedorn contacted her contact for EVs, and then 2 years from now, this was a project that was going in, which resulted in a lot of controversy. There was quasi judicial hearing. And then you're having to disclose that there was ex parte contact versus potentially, right? If Councilor Hagedorn said, hey, City Manager Bill, I have this contact that you could consider reaching out to. Bill does the communication and then presents it to us at the same time in a council report, and then go from there. It's less messy, and I think the intent of this policy update is really to stay out of the gray. Like, we just need to live in black or white, stay out of the gray, because being open to an interpretation as an elected official is never a good place, right? You want to live in black or white. So that's all I was gonna add, just to maybe help give a different perspective.
Very good, thank you, Councilor Hagedorn.
Well, and to add to that, it's keeping me intense, business oriented rather than personal oriented, which was the catalyst to the issue and how this started originally, using your public capacity to obtain information that was not for city business, so.
So,
I'm in full support of your recommendation, Emily.
of her coming back.
Of as
Oh,
is
okay.
today, I have no grievances, I think it's.
So there's two options, unless there's more questions, two options, either. We can adopt what Emily gave us, or we can ask her to come back with more clarifying questions. What do we want to do?
Councilor Reddy, I want to adopt.
Kind of a mic drop. What's that?
Councilor Reddy, I want to adopt.
Okay. Councilor Weber,
I would be good with that, adopted.
Councilor Warren.
I, meaning adopted,
Yeah, are you good with adopting it,
Yeah.
or do you want more? answers?
I'm good with adopting it, that's what I means.
Oh, I'm just making sure, I just want to clarify that there wasn't a question that I questioned. Councilor, DeFore, you good with it?
I don't want to stop the team. I am not at aligned with this project, but please proceed.
Councilor Garcia, you already say yes, Council President said yes. Good.
I'm good, Counselor Ugarte, yes, I'm good, I think, I just wanna give space for Counselor DeForge, if there's still hesitation, just to make sure that we are aligned, but I defer to you.
Great.
I think at this point, we have enough for consensus, and I think this is an important issue, but it's not something that we need to spend a lot more time on. Something we can always come back to. The nice part about our council rules is we can review those often some more. So, I think the direction of staff, based on what I'm hearing, is let's go ahead and adopt it, and then if Council Forge, wants to bring up further concerns, let's address those in the future, but let's at least have something to writing so that we can do the right thing. And I don't want to be in the gray because it's too risky right now. So with that, let's move on to the social media policy update.
I'll introduce, thank you, Mayor, but this is mostly, Emily and her effort. We've had a social media policy since 2020, and it has guided social media posting, things on the website, that sort of thing. And questions, kind of Councilor Redden had questions about, are we applying, what's our policy? Are we applying it equally to certain things the city does, and as well as some things that are done not by the city? How are we making decisions about what gets promoted on social media by the city and not? And so Emily reviewed and said, it looks like those policies need an update. So she's here and she's giving you the big red lines version in the packet, and she is here to discuss that with you. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I don't actually have too much to say. I guess I'll just sort of, I think there were a couple themes that my changes or recommended changes follow. One is sort of coming up to date with what is actually done. For example, I understand that the comments have been turned off of almost all of the city's social media pages since for years now, many years. And so there's no need for a comment moderation policy. That's a fine choice to make. So remove that comment moderation policy. I also, your personnel handbook handles how employees engage on social media when off of job. This is designed for like the city social media pages. And so I kind of removed that aspect. There's a lot more, I would say, First Amendment issues when employees are doing their own personal social media. So let's let the handbook do that heavy lifting and take it out of here. And then just some sort of best practice updates and cleaning up, I would say, is the other sort of general theme. And that's all. I mean, I think of this as your item more than my item. So I'm happy to answer questions or explain my recommended changes, but I don't have too much to say.
Councilor Reddy. Mike Robinson, one like this, you great.
Already. I mean, I just saw an issue, brought it forward, we partnered with Emily. And if everybody likes the changes to the social media policy, we can move on.
Well, what does council think? Or does another council want to drop them?
Counselor Weber, you had some concerns when you brought it up. Are you comfortable they're all addressed with the changes that have been made? If so, I say, great. You feel good? Okay.
Councilor Warrington, thoughts, comments?
I just want to say thank you for putting in at the very bottom, the next steps, the financial, all of that stuff that tells us clearly what this is and what you expect from us. So thank you. Very good. You're looking at me like, what?
I know that was mine.
That was her document. Counselor Reddings. Oh, well, thank you, Counselor, everybody for doing that. I appreciate it.
Yes, very helpful. Councilor DeForge. Good. Yeah. Councilor Ugarte, good. Councilor Huron, good comments. Okay, Counselor Redding, any other, well, I'll just say, I like it. The thing that I appreciate is that Emily was able to take some things out that maybe will keep us safe, and I like that it was more generalized for future, so that way the next council doesn't get stuck trying to have to do a bunch of updates. It should just be minor updates, hopefully, so that when the city staff's on TikTok, we can cover that.
I think Counselor Redding here, under my discussion topics was, we've overviewed the current social media policy. Question was how staff evaluates and determines what content is shared. Is that covered in there? I don't have my computer documents.
So, yes, let me read that section. So I believe this addresses what you're asking. When the city's nonprofit partners request that city social media accounts post or share information, the city may consider posting items that are of general community benefit because they are educational, direct the community or resources, share community events, relate to city business, or otherwise provide a general benefit or service to the North Plains community. I heard need for objective criteria, which is what I tried to put in there, and I hope it's hard. But
No, that's perfect, and I think it also goes right into factors considered in the decision making. For example, relevance, partnerships, operational considerations, like that covers that. And then how consistency is maintained across different types of organizations and requests. That,
so that applies to nonprofit partners, and then the only other, I believe, organization that's contemplated here is other local public agency social media pages. Those are the two that are contemplated.
Bill, do you think the way it's newly written would have helped in a prior situation?
Counselor Redding, yes, in the prior language puts a subjective value call on staff in a manner that the easiest, safest thing to do is to not post anything that's not contracted by the city or, updates from other public agencies. But the prior language had subjective language in it that gray area, don't be in the gray.
Third objective.
Exactly, so,
This third objective.
yes, this does help, yes.
So I think you just need consensus for resolution. Yeah, so we have consensus. I mean, everybody seems on board, unless I missed something, but. And again, the next part is if we see something we missed, we can always go back and fix it, but at least we have something that's more clear and objective. So thank you, Councilor Redding. We're grateful. And with that, before we move on to new business, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Recess until 23 after. All right, so under new business, we have the WCCLS IGA, so one by Robin.
Thank you, Mayor. Evening Council, Robert Doty, Director of Library Administrative Services. And I have just 2 quick slides for you, but now is the time when we choose to renew our membership in Washington County Cooperative Library Services, WCCLS. We're governed under 5-year agreements, IGA intergovernmental agreements. It is not a coincidence that these coincide with the levy term. So because this is the agreement that governs how those funds are used. And so this process was a multi-year process to review the funding and governance for the library cooperative. And I was the common thread for North Plains in there. We started out when Andy Varner was city manager, then I was in the work sessions with Rob Drake and then Bill Reed. And now that process has come to a conclusion. And I think I'm very pleased with the outcome for North Plains and other smaller libraries because there was a substantial funding adjustment for us. It's nice to have Emily here. I can thank BEH for reviewing the IGA. We also had, our underwriters, the City County Insurance Services, CIS, review it. I wish I had the final draft to include in the packet. That should be out any day now. But for North Plains, I think the only difference is gonna be, well, the maps will be included, and then that insurance part was rewritten to comply with all the CIS members, the needs for the underwriter. So, you know, the goal of the project of reworking the funding and governance was this to support community needs by creating a library system with a fiscally sustainable future and improve the service consistency and equity across the county. And go to the next slide. So since the map wasn't included yet, I just, there should be no changes from this map. This shows our new service area in the green. The little red dot is the middle of the incorporated part of our service area. You can see we have a large section of unincorporated Washington County. That's our service area. And it used to not go below 26, and 26 is right on the red dot. But Quality Ridge Elementary boundaries, basically this map follows our elementary school boundaries, I will say. North Plains Elementary on the left, well, on the upper left, and then Quality Ridge is kind of a crescent. But we have relationships with those families that attend those schools. We visit the classrooms. And us and Banks agreed that the Banks School District should be in their service area and our elementary schools should be in our library service area. And then the other thing it was based on was where are people using the library the most. And so, you know, that this also reflects the actual usage of our library. So it's shifted a little bit to the west from where it was. To the east, people were using the Hillsborough Library, so added a little to the west and removed a little to the east, but our population number stayed about identical at about 5,300 or 5,400, excuse me. And then just the final part was what's the funding allocation. So this is a list of how, with the new, thankfully transparent and clear formula, because it had gotten a bit convoluted over time with the addition of available library and different things like that. The formula just wasn't real clear to people anymore. And so with the new formula, we are at the minimum, us and Banks, and then and that's up to 7,500 in population. And so $512,000 a year, we're at 209 right now. It'll, the intent is that it'll cover all of our base services, the operational part, and the city's responsible for the capital, the building, equipment, and that kind of thing.
So I'll just go down the line. Council ready? Questions, comments, thoughts?
Back one slide, I saw WCCLS. Is that like the online portion?
Oh,
going up?
yeah, I didn't go into kind of what WCCLS provides. It's outlined in an agreement with what they provide, and that's their budget for that. So they provide the website, so all of the website and online catalog, and then they pay for all the digital library items, the courier service that transports items between libraries. And then they also provide the free wireless internet at every library location. So the city doesn't pay for the internet connection at the library. That's provided by WCCLS centrally on their network. I mean, those are the big things they provide, and they do communications and marketing. And so forth also, but that's just quite a jump, so I was just, thank you. Sure, yeah, that's what it takes to, support a cooperative of this size with those central services they provide.
Councilor Weber?
Councilor Weber, so to clarify, I mean, this is a very good bump in terms of the money coming in. Does that affect what you have to work with, or what it affects is more the city's portion?
So we have an adopted budget that doesn't change with this. Our adopted budget says what we can spend in this biennium. And so that's what we'll spend. And so we did our best to estimate what our new allocation would be, and we estimated 440,000, because we're at a point in the process where we really were guessing, and it ended up at 512,000. So so that those funds are available in the end restricted general fund for other uses, as far as I'm concerned, but the budget committee will discuss that.
Yeah. Thank you, Robin. Yeah, no, great question, Councilor Weber. So, at the budget committee meeting, I was gonna mention this in the city manager report, but at the budget committee meeting, what we'll be doing is talking about your question, actually. That'll be kind of the focus, of one of the topics, and that is, we have an adopted budget where in FY 27, 400 X thousand dollars comes in from this agreement. And in FY 27, because that money comes in, it means the city's general fund is spending less on the library because the county is injecting more money. And with the budget committee, what we're going to talk about is the fact that while we have a budget adopted that shows 400 something thousand dollars, and a shift in how the pie chart looks for different departments getting general fund money, with this agreement, we'll talk with the budget committee about how the pie chart can potentially shift more, because we have more county money coming in to fund the library than we expected when we did the budget. So ultimately what this means is that the county is going to be giving us more money to operate the library, and the city's obligation to use general fund, its own general fund money, changes. And so that's going to be the conversation, is how much it changes potentially, and what the budget committee and city council might think about doing differently because of that.
Because there's no norm about the standard is 60-40, 70-30 between cities and libraries. That's determined by each city council.
So the only thing, what is standardized about the new IGA is that for whatever your population size is, there's a standard basic level of service. And it's in tiers of population size. We in Banks are the smallest. And so that's why we are getting the same amount of money. We have different population, but we're in the same tier of population in terms of what basic level of service is for that category of population. So that is consistent. That's a formula in this new agreement. But what is true is that however much more, or what North Plains or Banks or anybody else wants to do in addition to that, as well as the capital facilities costs, is up to the city. So there's still choices and things the city needs to fund, but the county is about to take on much more of the obligation of what it takes to run what happens inside the library. And we're getting more than double, we're roughly double the amount of money is coming in to help pay for that.
Thank you.
Councilor Warren?
Quick question, is there a question that you were asked that you have for the council regarding this? Or is this a precursor to the upcoming budget meeting?
I request council support by consensus of the intergovernmental agreement and us remaining a member library in Washington County Cooperative Library Service. For the next 5 years.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what that means. Does
So,
everybody understand?
in order to be a member library and have a library card that you can use at any Washington County library, we must sign this agreement. It's the same agreement for every member. Everyone's, Hillsborough has the same agreement as us, Beaverton, Tiger, Tualatin, Sherwood, Banks, Forest Grove, Cornelius, etc. So, if we, yes, so it's your, I'm asking for your consensus on North Plains being a part of this cooperative, continuing to be a part of this cooperative. Your support.
Counselor, any other questions?
No, I think I understand. Thank you.
Sure.
Counselor Ford. Counselor Garrett.
No questions. I am in agreement with consensus.
That's very good.
And in support.
All right, so under 12.3.1, it says four FTEs are required, and then in 12.3.2, it says one exempt. So is that 5 or 4 staff that are required?
Four is the requirement for base level service.
So what is the 12.3, what is a FTE, or sorry, full-time exempt then?
An exempt employee is someone who's exempt from overtime, and so that's generally a managerial or supervisory role. And so it was included in the base service that there would be someone who, who qualified as an exempt employee.
So
At
one of
each
the
library.
4 has to be exempt. Okay, that's what I was trying to get to, sorry.
Yeah.
So I guess my comment is looking at the budget, if I take the amount, the personnel costs, and divide that by 5.7 FTE, which is what we budgeted for, correct? Sorry, I should have prepped you with this. But I believe that's what I looked at in the budget. That puts the cost at roughly 250,000 per fully burdened employee, which is probably a little high, but that's what the budget says. So I'm just gonna go with that number.
I'm gonna say that we have costs beyond our FTE, but they used FTE as the widget for the formula. But we have, if you're looking at our current budget, we're buying all the books and stuff now and that kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
We're not coding that under personnel costs.
Oh, you're talking about personnel costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so were things that Bill said would be addressed in the budget, future budget committee meetings, as we prepare the next biennium budget, I believe.
Because basically what that means is and I'm just trying to call out some risk here because we're obligating the city to at least $500,000 a year based on that formula minimum, in order to receive effectively matching funds. So for 5 years, and this is something that I just think everybody needs to be aware of before we make a decision, is you're committing the city for 5 years to a minimum of 500,000, or a current funding level is about $1 million personnel costs. So this is something that needs to be considered. So my suggestion, and again, I'm one, so you guys all make the decision, is that I would think this would be something that, because we're spending money, should probably go to budget committee first before we provide consensus, but that's just my opinion. So I will just throw that out there, and I will ask council, what would you like to do? It seemed like we had consensus, and I'm fine with that, but I'm also giving my input. Bill, sorry.
Mayor,
Did I miscalculate?
you're looking at budget numbers for the biennium 2-year labor costs. So the labor costs you're thinking of, divide
So it's
that
1
by
1/4.
2. Yeah, divided by 2.
Okay, so thank you. This is why we double check things before, and I want to make sure, because I was a little trying to figure out how we were spending that much money on personnel, but that makes more sense now. Okay, so hold on, let me do the math again. Okay, so I take that back. I was wrong. I'm very happy that I was wrong, so I was very frustrated by why this didn't make sense to me, and that's why I wanted to come ask. This is why we ask questions. So, okay, so what we're not obligating the city. So I take back everything I said. That makes more sense now. This is where I got stuck today when I was reading through this. So what that means is this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, I think I understand this now, and my apologies. I think what I hear is then the local option levy for the library will cover the mandatory staffing level, if I read this correctly. And then currently, on top of that, we cover the 2 additional. So, okay, so that makes more sense now.
That's.
I'm very sorry. That was my fault. This is why I wanted to come ask.
Yeah.
Ask staff because I couldn't figure out why it didn't make sense.
The biennium trips people up all the time, don't worry about it.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you, Bill. That's
In library board, there's always a question about that. It's okay. Yeah.
No, it's okay. When I heard you say that, Mayor, I thought, I need to work at the library.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought. It was, this has really been bothering me.
I thought you were talking about the whole budget. Anyway.
I was a little freaked out. Okay, so now I'm in a better place. I was very uncomfortable with this, but now I'm not, because just giving you my rationale, I just want everyone to understand, I'm not trying to be difficult, but I'm just nervous when we obligate the city to do things on top of taxpayers already paying the levy. So I'm just trying to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in a position without going through budget committee where it could cost us extra money. So
Yeah.
that being said, I'm okay with it now, and I'm really sorry, and I'm grateful the staff helped me. So everybody, any more questions?
Just one.
Please.
The budget you're talking about, everybody's talking about, does this impact it a lot, a little, or none? I mean, are we coming in at the same amount of money, or is this going to increase?
Oh, I can, sorry.
Okay.
So it's a 2-step process. At the end of the day, after a 2-year transition, in constant, if you compare 1 year versus the other, our costs are actually going to go down modestly. There's a feature of this IGA that Robin didn't bring up, because it gets into the weeds a little bit, but to answer the question from Councilor Redding about the WCCLS allocation is that up until next year, the WCCLS system, each library has done its own collections. That means each library has had staff doing different, collections and that's their time spent and their cost.
Materials,
exactly. But with this agreement, in order to cut costs at all of the different libraries, and for efficiency purposes, it's more efficient and less costly to do collections system-wide at the county. And so when all is said and done, actually, comparing apples to apples year to year, there's a modest decrease in our costs.
and that's maintaining our high standards because we do require a master's degree for librarians at our library. And we do have premium early literacy services for the community that some other libraries don't have. We have a higher standard there too. And those are things that we're paying for on top of the base service levels that, because they're important. We've heard from the community that those are important and, so.
Yeah, I guess if I'm just summarizing on that is what the city's committing to for the next 5 years, the county is paying for.
Yes.
Is the bottom line.
They are paying all of our operational base level services costs with this new allocation.
Just to be clear, the county is paying for it with tax dollars, so it comes from the citizens, so just to clarify, but yes, it is coming through the levy, so the levy was passed by the voters.
Yes.
So if there's no other questions, I'm gonna ask for a roll call vote, just because it's an IGA and I want to make sure we are 100% accurate, so please, would you, just so we do it right?
Sure.
Thank you.
Counselor Hagedorn.
Yay.
Counselor Reddy.
Yay.
Counselor Warrington.
Yay.
Counselor DeForge.
Yay.
Counselor Ugarte.
Yay.
Counselor Weber.
Yay.
And Mayor Dumbrell.
Aye. And if you're gonna say yeah, I feel like there should be a little jazz hands. All right, and thank you for clarifying, and again, my apologies, I misread it, and that's why I came to ask questions, very confusing. So with that, I think we're good on that topic. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, good evening.
And now, Dustin. See the mustache over here. That's good. I love this. Very proud.
Public Works Director, Russell Gennady. Good evening, Council and Mayor. And this staff report is basically asking for feedback more than anything. If there's any questions, I am all ears right now.
Council, questions or feedback? Or
Counselor Weber, so this was a person you tried to hire before, listed the job but couldn't find somebody, and the feeling was that because we weren't paying enough, so this is that open spot that's still open, but we're gonna attract a person by paying more, or is that? Explain a little background, please.
Long story short, that's the basic gist of it. And so, for example, the city of, I think it's Lake Oswego has a superintendent position open for roughly the same price range, not price range, but the same pay scale. And superintendent, manager, there are kind of titles that are interchangeable. It's kind of like in the construction world, you'll have a project manager, estimator, and then you'll have a superintendent. They work side by side. And then a lot of times you'll have the same thing, a public works director, and then you'll have a operations manager, or you have a superintendent, or you'll have like an assistant director. So it's kind of like an operations versus engineering and admin, more than anything. But yes, that's for lack of better description, yes. When this position was offered, one of the comments that was made was that it was below the current pay or the pay scale that that individual had as a senior worker. And the only person who actually had the water distribution too, who applied for this position previously when it was listed as a supervisor, ended up taking a position in Eastern Oregon as a public works director. So that's the kind of qualities that we were looking for. And the previous pay scale and the previous job description was not very significant. And in Washington County, it's really hard to attract someone with a water distribution too. And so realistically, with this new position, I will probably be recruiting people who probably don't even have a water distribution too, but maybe a 3 or 4 and a lot of experience behind them potentially. And also this could be a long recruitment. I hope it wouldn't be, but there are people with water distribution certifications that are needed statewide. So this is something that's going to attract some good experienced talent.
I just have a question. How many water bureaus, whatever departments do we have in Metro or in the Tri-Counties? I mean, I'm just curious. I'm just thinking now because I didn't even think about that because I deal with PDs in Washington, but not here.
I do not have that answer right off the top of the head, but the big contenders that we have to deal with is Joint Water Commission.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's Joint Water Commission, there's Tualatin Valley Water District, there is, West Slope, there's,
Okay.
Hillsborough, Beaverton, they all have their own.
Around, this is what I was getting at.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
it's
that's
it's all
okay.
Washington County, but it kind of gets murky. And I think Cornelius and Forest Grove have their own, departments as well. It gets kind of murky in there, but they're all kind of vying for the same personnel.
And we budgeted for this, right? I'm assuming.
Mayor, that's correct, yes. To get a little bit of the weeds on that, when the budget was put together and adopted by you all, we had an employee who had just gotten a certification and then right after July 1st left for the city of Hillsborough. And so all of this would be because we just didn't have a position and pay for it.
Okay, makes sense.
And so we're Public Works in particular with water and certifications it's kind of the hardest or the most difficult department to try to operate at about a 10% discount for pay compared to other places. I mean, people get poached. So this whole time we've had budget for this, for the person who left in July, who is a higher end employee, but that hasn't been spent. So we have the resources.
I mean, what does council want to do? Or what do you think? Councilor Ugarte?
Thank you, Councilor Ugarte. I just had a quick question for Dustin. I noticed it says, required in time of hire, having that level 2 certification.
Correct.
And I was just curious in your expertise, if this is realistic or if you see a lot of people who are trying to get into this type of position and then need their certification after the time of hire.
Right now, this is an operational need where we need someone with a water distribution to hire to become our direct responsible charge. Right now, because of that former employee who left, and TBWD pulling out of the agreement, I had to rush to make a contract with Northwest Natural Water Services, and so they are serving as our DRC. And so this is kind of one of those things that the idea is not for this manager to be the DRC, because ultimately we have a water distribution lead that we are kind of grooming to be the water expert. And so the person that we were looking for is going to have that water expertise to help guide and mentor this water distribution lead position. And serve as kind of like a fail-safe or a backup, because you never know, our water distribution lead could get poached by another company or another organization. But if we have someone in place in a more exempt status and they're getting paid, a good salary to be able to stay long-term, that's one of the hopes for this particular position.
Absolutely, that's actually kind of why I'm asking this question, because what I don't want to have is we open up this position and then, again, we don't have a qualified pool of applicants, and then we're coming back to council and saying, hey, we actually need to be willing to pay for their certification.
Mhm.
And then I think about, past experiences, and so I'm just trying to think, again, really forward thinking, not to be a worst case scenario, but I just want to be realistic, and this is your area of expertise. So I was just curious what your thoughts were about, can we find someone with this now, or are we gonna have a hard time?
Well, Councilor Ugarte, it's probably gonna be a long recruitment is my guess. And kind of get some background information. I don't want to get into the weeds too much in this, but my 25-ish, years of construction, public works experience. I've got a lot of water experience behind me, but I do not have a water distribution too. But my experience is on like the engineering side, and the inspection side. And so there's a lot of different skill set when you're actually in the pump stations and you're maintaining, the water levels in the chlorine. It's a completely different skill set, that I could go there and I could take the test right now and I can pass, but I still actually have to have that time in pump station in order to be able to get that certification. So I can take the test, but I don't meet that time, to be able to make those specific requirements, because the state of Oregon is actually pretty stringent, which kind of goes into why this particular certification is in such high demand, because it is a very highly skilled thing. And of course, public works director wearing many hats and having a certification to be working in the pump house on a day-to-day basis is not a good use of public works director time. So.
Okay, thank you. And I think just my last question is, if you had a crystal ball to anticipate how long until you can fill this vacancy? Is it 90 days, 6 months?
If I open the recruitment this week, the best case scenario is I get someone in July 1st. The odds of that happening, I don't know, because I have not offered this position at a competitive pay rate. And so that's one thing that I'm going to find out very quickly to see how many qualified personnel, because I'm expecting to get a lot of individuals who automatically are going to get dropped from the list because they do not have water distribution too. But that is going to be a definite requirement. And so this could lead into potentially next budget cycle if I do not recruit right.
Okay, thank you.
So just to clarify, you're looking for us consensus to go and post?
Consensus and any feedback or just kind of information gathering and just kind of more transparency about, hey, this is what we are doing and why we're doing it.
Council, is everybody good with this? Does anybody have concerns? Do you have feedback? Obviously we need water. Thoughts? Yeah, nay, do it, don't do it. Yes. Councilors, yes, Councilor Forge, Councilor Hero. Okay, post it. Let's get recruiting and, maybe odds be ever in your favor.
I thank you, council and mayor.
Thank you for coming. All right, and now we're on to the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to keep this brief. It is 8:56. And I know you all have things to do. So just a few highlights. Budget Committee, next, a week from Thursday, the 14th. We'll be getting the agenda packet, the information and materials out for that a little bit later this week, but we're gonna focus on the Washington County Sheriff's Office FY27 contract, if there need to be any new things done with that. We will dig a bit more into the library, the cooperative library system, IGA, and what the revenue allocation means. We'll talk about the roof for this building, and what choices we have after Dustin got some quotes on different choices on repairing it. Those will kind of be some of the big topics, and then just looking ahead, you know, where are revenues and expenses going, that sort of thing. So mid-biennium on the 14th. Community garden, we're gonna have that cleaned up and sprayed and agreement in hand with the Robinsons this week. So by Wednesday, we'll be announcing tomorrow, should be tomorrow. Apply for a garden plot. And here's the new agreement on the garden application. It's going to have a lot more of a code of conduct with teeth in it regarding how one conducts themselves in the community garden. The community garden is a wonderful thing. The Robinsons are wonderful partners on having it on their property every year, but we have a new code of conduct because things end up getting expensive for the city in terms of staff going, doing something, this, that, or the other. And so this is a movement in the right direction of putting some accountability on the people who use the bed themselves. And then finally, in the Friday 5, a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned that OPB was looking at doing some kind of feature on North Plains. So their local show, Think Out Loud, has scheduled a town hall, basically. They're gonna host a town hall at Alphalati Ridge Elementary School on June 11th. And moving through and up to June 11th, they are going to promote kind of just a general survey of the population around here, just to kind of learn what's on people's minds, what are they concerned about, what they think are kind of the community's priorities. You know, it's kind of a general survey. We've seen it. It hasn't really been gone out and been heavily promoted. The city will promote the survey. It's going to be open to the North Plains area. It's not city only. So it's going to, anyway, so we'll be working with OPB staff to try to get as many people to fill it out as possible. We have a lot of people in this community who do not show up at city council meetings and don't register, you know, kind of what's on their mind. So our work with OPB will try to get people who are more complacent or quiet or whatever you want to say. We want to get them participating and learn, you know, kind of hear from them. So that's what we'll be working on with OPB. And then on the 11th at Alphalati Ridge at 6 p.m., I believe, there will be kind of a hosted show, Think Out Loud, where people will be asked questions and it'll be kind of a conversation recorded, and then it'll play on their daytime show. And then with that, that's kind of all I'll keep in the report, at least for now, unless you have any questions.
Questions from the community? All right, hearing none, move on to council reports. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, so council ready, start with you. Council Weber.
I attended another MAC meeting. They continue to be in executive session. We have another one next week, so nothing to report on that. I have joined a very unusual group that only meets in secret, so I don't know what that says. That's where we are. Just a practical thing, the pack that's getting going, if possible, maybe that's already planned. If we could just get copies of the maps and all that kind of stuff as that becomes available, that would be helpful. A practical matter, you know, we had kind of a lively exchange on this whole right away. It sounded like the city had a game plan for actually the loading zone, the food bank issue. If that's happening the way it was gonna happen, I disregard this, but if there are changes being made to that loading zone, and if there are perhaps costs associated with that, I would just ask that those get presented, not to make a decision, but simply in the spirit of transparency. What is the new plan and are there any costs associated? Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Warrington.
Councilor Warren, I was able to attend the North Plains Chamber of Commerce Board meeting on April 28th at 6 o'clock in the senior center. Some topics they covered were the North Plains Travel Guide and North Plains businesses, a broadcast text messaging system they're trying to get together. They sponsored an All Ford Car Show sponsorship. They went through all the city events to see if they are involved, how much they should be involved, some workshops, etc. Their next meeting is May 26th, 6 o'clock in the senior center. So I would encourage anybody to attend. It is an open meeting. Thank you.
Councilor Porch.
Councilor Porch here, attended the Metro meeting, and one of my takeaways was they were concerned about extreme heat events, and they were planning for cooling centers, and I just want to confirm that we would have something available for senior citizens in the
The
summer.
library is our cooling center here in town. Right? No? Did it change?
Technically, the library is a place to get cool. We don't qualify as a cooling center per se. It's just a terminology thing.
Oh.
But you are correct that it is a place to get cool.
Yes. It's usually been posted on the website that they provide. They have water and air conditioning.
The terminology.
Yeah, it's
Place
open.
to
Call it
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but thank you, and I attended the Strong Towns community meeting, and they were. They've been hearing that there's more UGB expansion conversation coming from those programs. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Councilor Ugarte.
Thank you, Councilor Ugarte. I'll keep mine brief. I have not had any ex officio duties. I do just want to say thank you specifically to Lori. This is your week to celebrate and just echo just the hard work we've heard today during public comment regarding city staff and all the work that you guys do behind the scenes. The last thing I just wanted to share is this Saturday is North Plains Cleanup Day. So great time to get rid of some junk in your house. And with all the great weather we've had, Recology is also going to accept free yard debris on May 9th as well. So good time to do some yard work as well. With that, I'll pass it over to Councilor Hagedorn.
Councilor Hagedorn here. I have nothing to report this session.
Okay. I attended the spring wellness event at Peak. Apparently they changed the date, so I better make it. I like when they change stuff for me. And I also will have EDC on Wednesday, and this time I will be there, and I won't miss this one.
You.
And that's all I believe that's all I have. I'll make something else later. With that, just make sure you check the calendar that Lori so kindly put together, and thank you, Lori, for being actually recording. And very soon, as often as possible. And also, just as advisory, take a look at the ODOT, or Highway 8 is gonna get some traffic improvements, so, probably long overdue. And with that, we will adjourn, or do you read first, sorry?
I read this before the agenda, right?
Okay, so I'm gonna pass the Lori to read, and then we will adjourn into executive session.
The city council will now meet in executive session under ORS 192.660 parentheses 2 parentheses I to review and evaluate the employment-related performance of the chief executive officer who does not request an open hearing. Only news media representatives and staff designated by the city council are permitted to attend the executive session. News media representatives, staff, and council members are respectfully directed not to report on any of the discussions that occur during this session, except to state the general subject as previously announced. The council will return to regular session if there is a need for action on the executive session item. No final action or decision may be taken in executive session. Any materials distributed will be collected by the city recorder at the end. Bill and I are going to step out. And I'll put the sign on the door and lock the door so that nobody can come in. So all that you guys will need to do is, Mayor, if you could text me when you're done, and then I'll stop the meeting on Zoom and just close the laptop and turn off the lights, and everything else should be good to go.
Cool. Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thank you.